Well, our traitorous, simpleton president now says he meant to say the word wouldn't, not would. Let me explain why he is a lying garbage person. I am Jesse Dollemore with Statesmith.com. Before I break all this down, let's speak plainly about one thing. If using the word would were a mistake, it wasn't. We clearly all watched it. But even if it were, changing a single word doesn't take away from the fact that Donald Trump has spent months upon months in a concerted effort, a calculated effort, to discredit his own Justice Department's investigation into the Russian interference with our democracy. He has dedicated months to maligning the many intelligence agencies of the United States who have all independently come to the very same conclusions. Russia is a hostile foreign power who engaged in an act of war by covertly conspiring to subvert our sacred election process. Having said that, the other day we were all witness to it. Donald Trump stood fewer than 150 miles from the Russian border and betrayed his country and its people in Helsinki. In a flagrant act of televised treason, he stood side by side with a murderous autocrat. We all heard Donald Trump say that he blames both sides. Sound familiar? Both sides are to blame. Meaning, Americans were hacked by Russia. Our elections were compromised by Russia. The United States democracy came under attack from Russia. And according to our traitor and simpleton president, we are to blame.
I hold both countries responsible. I think that the United States has been foolish. I think we've all been foolish, and I think we're all to blame. But I do feel that we have both made some mistakes. I think that the probe is a disaster for our country. I think it's kept us apart. It's kept us separated.
Well, then Donald Trump was reminded by a reporter that while Vladimir Putin denies it, every single intelligence agency within Donald Trump's own country, as a reminder, that's the United States, has definitively concluded that Russia interfered in the 2016 election. And was asked simply and plainly, who do you believe, Donald Trump? Well, look, this is a binary choice. You either believe the U.S. intelligence community or you believe Putin. Trump failed to say he unequivocally believes the conclusions come to by the United States. In fact, he showered Putin with praise about the confidence he has in his denials.
My people came to me, Dan Coates came to me, and some others. They said they think it's Russia. I have President Putin. He just said it's not Russia. I will say this, I don't see any reason why it would be, but I really do want to see the server. But I have confidence in both parties. So I have great confidence in my intelligence people, but I will tell you that President Putin was extremely strong and powerful in his denial today.
All right, so let's break down this I meant wouldn't lie, not would. Trump said, quote, I have President Putin. He just said it's not Russia. I don't see any reason why it would be, but I have confidence in both parties. About 45 seconds later, he says, quote, I have great confidence in my intelligence people, but I will tell you that President Putin was extremely strong and powerful in his denial today, unquote. Let's talk about his use of the word but. Used the way Trump did, but is what's called a contrast transition, meaning a transition in a sentence to draw a distinction in separate thoughts, feelings, or ideas in the same sentence. For instance, if I was to say, I've always thought presidents were smart, but ever since Donald Trump was elected, I realized that's not always true. You see, the but in there sets you up to hear a contrasting statement or idea that doesn't necessarily line up with the original statement. You wouldn't say, I love my mom and dad so much, but they were so loving and supportive my entire childhood. You wouldn't say that because it doesn't make sense. So let's read the sentence that Donald Trump now claims he meant to say. Quote, I have President Putin. He just said it's not Russia. I don't see any reason why it wouldn't be, but I have confidence in both parties, unquote. Any way you shake it, that does not make sense. Which equals out to, Donald Trump is not only a liar, he's also a traitor who stood there and promoted the interests and agenda of a hostile foreign nation. Look, ultimately, if Donald Trump really meant to correct the record, wouldn't he have gone further than just changing a word? Wouldn't he have said, I trust our country's intelligence agencies when they say Russia meddled in the election, and it needs to stop? Wouldn't he want to be like Putin, the man he admires so much, and be strong and powerful, rather than meek, mild, and vacillating like a cowering weakling? You see, indicating an incorrect minor word changes nothing, especially in light of everything that he's been saying and doing in support of the Russian agenda. In fact, Donald Trump came out today to call his critics victims of Trump derangement syndrome and carried even more water for Vladimir Putin by promoting the agenda of Russia again, when he assured everyone that Russia is absolutely not continuing their efforts to interfere in our future elections. When asked, he said no. No, they are not.
Thank you all very much. Appreciate it.
Bryce,
Thank
make
you.
your way out. Is Russia,
Thank you
make
very
your way
much.
out. Is Russia still targeting the U.S., Mr. President?
Thank you
Press,
very
let's
much.
go. Make your way out. No, you don't believe that to be the case? Let's go. We're finished.
So Donald Trump says that he, quote unquote, has great confidence in his intelligence people. Yeah. Well, I wonder what his intelligence people say about whether or not Russia is continuing their election meddling. Lucky enough, from just a couple days ago, I have a quote right here from Director of National Intelligence Dan Coats. He said, quote, the role of the intelligence community is to provide the best information and fact-based assessments possible for the president and policymakers. We have been clear in our assessments of Russian meddling in the 2016 election and their ongoing pervasive efforts to undermine our democracy. And we will continue to provide unvarnished and objective intelligence in support of our national security, unquote. What's the old adage? Your actions speak so loudly I cannot hear what you are saying. Yeah, that sounds about right. This morning, a friend of mine and fellow United States Marine Corps veteran said something that I think is simple yet profound, and I will leave you with his words. There should be nobody on the sidelines. Everything is at stake. Vote in November, everybody. It is critically, vitally important.